So welcome to Video Marketing Mastery. Today is April 4th, 4 2026. It's a great day. And I just got done doing my live Facebook. I go live for like 15, 20 minutes before this session and invite people to attend. And now I'm just kind of stalling a little bit to see if anyone joins us. Looks like I've got an update here. Yeah, Windows update. It wants me to restart. I'm not restarting right now. Let's restart tomorrow. Windows is just annoying. Like, it's a love-hate thing, right? I would much rather use Linux. There goes my camera again. I guess I'm just going to have to keep turning it back on. So yeah, Windows is annoying. I'm a Linux guy. See, there it goes. What the hell? This is really annoying. Let me turn off HD and see if that helps. Maybe my bandwidth is just too bad and it won't work HD. I'm a Linux guy. I love Linux. Actually, I'll show you my Linux Penguin. So this is my Linux Penguin right here. So he's the mascot for Linux. His name is Tux. So I love Linux. I've got a bunch of different Linux machines because the beauty of Linux is you can have different versions because it's open source software. A long time ago, 50 years ago, when Linus Torvald, it looks like that HD setting helped my camera. I haven't gone off again. So if you're having trouble with your camera, turn off the HD setting in Zoom. 50 years ago, when Linus Torvalds created Linux, the Linux kernel, he open sourced it. He made it open source software. And the beauty of open source software is that the source code is out there in the open and you can go grab it and you can modify it. So that's why there's like 100 different versions of Linux. So just to kind of show you some stuff here. This isn't really video related, but it's interesting, I think, to learn because a lot of people don't know this stuff. So let me close down some of these windows here. Open up a new window. And no one's currently here live, so that's why I'm just doing some stuff just to kill some time. Maybe somebody will drop in. So let me go to Linux and Wikipedia. There we go. That's the one I want. List of Linux distribution. That's the one that I want right there. This is wild. Let me share my screen with you. We're going to share. So this is the Linux list of Linux distributions Wikipedia page. And let me get my screen sharing menu over here so I can see what I'm sharing. And then let me bring up my participant panel. So if anyone joins, I can see them. So this is the list of Linux distributions, and this is crazy. Look at this. All these little branches are different Linux versions. Look at that. Isn't that crazy? So here's the years right here. So back in 1992 was the SLS Slackware. I actually have Slackware running on one of my computers, and I love it. Slackware is great. It's been around forever. And then the Debian came out, and then Red Hat, which is really just a commercial version of Debian, and then Jurek. I don't even know about Jurek. And then over here, we have some just random versions that came out. Actually, this one came out back in the early days too. MCC Interim. Let's see. AOSP. Oh, that's Android. So if you didn't know this, Android is Linux. So your Google phone, your Android phone is Linux. And then your Apple phone is actually, I can't say 100%, but it's based on Unix, or at least the Mac OS is. Because back when Steve Jobs changed over to OS 10, when Apple changed over to OS 10 because of Steve Jobs. So back when Steve Jobs came back to Apple after they fired him and then they begged him to come back, he was already working on a new computer system called the Next Step, the Next System. And he went and got the BSD Unix open source. So if we go to Wikipedia and we look up, maybe I'll just do a computer tutorial today. Let's look up Apple OS 10 operating system. So right here, proprietary Unix operating system derived from OpenStep, which was Steve Jobs' operating system for the NeXT computer, and FreeBSD. So FreeBSD is what Steve Jobs went and got, because FreeBSD is a free and open source Unix-like operating system. So it's kind of like Linux. It basically, it says right here, FreeBSD maintains a complete system delivering a kernel, device drivers, userland utilities, and documentation, as opposed to Linux only delivering a kernel and drivers and relying on third parties such as GNU for system software. So FreeBSD is more complete, meaning that it provides a lot of these other systems, whereas the Linux world relies on the GNU free open source software system. So FreeBSD source code is generally released under a permissive BSD license as opposed to the copyleft GPL used by Linux. So basically they still have some restrictions around FreeBSD, and Linux and GNU operate under GPL, which is like totally open. Like, copy it, do what you will with it. So when you say free software, it doesn't mean no cost. It means GPL, free, no restrictions. You can do what you want with it. Now, the only real rule is that if you're going to use free software, open source, and see, open source is not free either. It has to be GPL. Open source is a different definition. It's kind of like BSD. So if you're going to really do true free software, see, I want to say open source because the term is correct. It's open source, but in the case of GNU and GPL, it is truly open, truly free, like as free as you can be. So it gets kind of confusing when they throw these terms around like FreeBSD and open source, and then GNU doesn't even say free or open in the name, but it is the most open and the most free. So anyway, that's a little history lesson for you on Linux and open source. And actually, there's one that I've been using recently that I really like. It's called Omarchy. So this guy here, DHH, he goes by. I'm trying to think of it. Oh, there it is right there. David Hannemeyer Hansen. He's a coder. And if you've ever heard of Ruby on Rails, he coded Ruby on Rails for his company. And then he open sourced it. So it's out there in the world and it's become a big internet thing. A lot of big companies use Ruby on Rails as a platform, and one of the biggest is Shopify. Shopify uses Ruby on Rails. So Omarchy is basically Arch Linux with David's customizations, and it's beautiful. Like, I'll just play a little bit of this for you.
Omarchy is a beautiful, modern, opinionated Linux system. It is built on top of Hyprland and Arch Linux, and it's made for anyone who loves computers. And that part is really important because Omarchy is not trying to be like Windows. It's not trying to be like Mac OS. It's not trying to be like a familiar desktop operating system where you're dragging Windows around and all the other ergonomics that you might have been used to for a long time if you've been using any of these other systems. Omarchy is built on the tiling window manager, and that experience is really quite different. It is a way of operating your computer that is driven far more through the keyboard than it is through a mouse or a trackpad. And it's going to take some time to get used to, but if you love computers, I think it's worth taking that time to learn a better, more efficient, more fun way of flying through your operating system, getting things done and having a blast while you do it. That is what Omarchy is all about. So let me show you how it works. This is what Omarchy looks like when you first boot into it. You'll see this beautiful backdrop and a couple of notifications to get you started. The first thing is if you are not on an Ethernet connection, you'll be asked to set up Wi-Fi. And right from the get-go, you're going to be introduced to this theme of the TUIs. So if we click here to set up the Wi-Fi, you'll see I am thrown into this nice little TUI called Impala, where you can select your networks. You can see at the bottom the different commands.
So that's enough. If you want to go watch that, you can. I love it. Now, the only problem with Linux is that I can't really run all my software that I run to get my work done. Like, my favorite editor is DaVinci Resolve. They say they run on Linux, but it's got to be, what's it called? There's a popular version of Linux. I'm not remembering the name right now. So I would have to install that version of Linux, which isn't a problem, really. It's just, I've got Windows already. And then Photoshop, obviously, all the Adobe software, that's not going to run on Linux. I could run some software on Linux, but not everything I need. So my main daily driver is Windows. And I used to be a Mac guy. Let me go ahead and stop my screen share for you so I can try and turn my camera on and see you. There we go. So I used to be a Mac guy. And behind me, if I didn't have this fake background on, by the way, that is a fake background. You may not have known that. That's my dream studio, my dream home studio. Let me turn my camera off so you can see it. So that's my ideal home studio. And I specified every detail for AI to create that image, like down to the pictures on the wall. You can't really see the pictures, they're cut off, but there's black and white photos of old school Las Vegas. So it's got like the flamingo sign and, different old school things. The panel that you see in the middle on the desk underneath the monitor, that's a DaVinci Resolve color panel. It's like $30,000. Now I've got nice high-end speakers up in the corners there. I've got that cool kind of tube lighting around the room with a little bit of warm kind of amber. And then I've got a blue behind the desk, a blue tube light behind the desk, giving me that little blue, cool blue down there. And then I got my little footrest. So yeah, I designed every aspect of that background. And then the Vegas sign is my photo that I put on the TV screen. So that is my viewing TV screen that, I'd watch videos or movies on or whatever. So I have a similar setup to that right now, but it's not that classy. It's not that high end. Mine's more like budget level. But I do have a 60-inch big screen TV hooked to a computer, and that's mainly what I watch movies and stuff on. And then in front of me, I have 3 monitors, but 2 of them are hooked to my main Windows computer. And then one of them is my Omarchi laptop. So I always have Omarchi right there in front of me. And then to the right of me, kind of like in that picture, I have a laptop. So I have my Windows laptop to the right of me. So it's a very similar setup to what I really have. But one day I will create that studio, that home studio right there. And the walls are painted gray. So if you don't know why, and one of the reasons that I wear black all the time is the same reason. So black absorbs light. So as a photo and video professional, if I'm out doing a gig, then I don't want to reflect light. I definitely don't want to reflect colored light. So if I'm taking a photo of someone and I've got a fuchsia pink, whatever shirt on, light that's hitting my shirt is going to bounce off in that color spectrum. So I'm going to be casting color onto my subject with that hue of color, whatever that color shirt I have. If it's a lime green, I'm going to be casting lime green color onto my subject. Like, for instance, there's a little lesson in color theory and light, and all this is related to video. So this is good information for you. So this little guy right here, what color is it? Well, you may say it's red. How do you know it's red? Because it's colored red. Really, what's happening, your eye is receiving a wavelength of the color spectrum red. So the material that this is made out of is projecting the spectrum of color red. And then your eye doesn't actually see color, it sees black and white. And then your brain interprets the spectrum of colors, and then your brain says, oh, that's red. It's a very complex subject. I definitely recommend doing research on it. Like I went down that rabbit hole many years ago, and it's very interesting. There's also, let me share my screen with you. Skip.
The double slit experiment defies our understanding. It involves a laser shooting beams of light particles called photons at a screen with two parallel slits. If we mark all the spots where the photons hit the second wall, we should expect to see two strips to correspond with the two slits. But that's not what we see. Instead, we see an alternating pattern of light and dark bands. This is characteristic of the behavior of waves that pass through both slits simultaneously, interfering with each other to create the pattern on the second screen. The bright lines are where the top of waves meet, resulting in a more intense or brighter area on the screen. The darker bands are where the top of one wave meets the bottom of another, so they cancel each other out, resulting in a less intense or darker area on the screen. Here is a photo of a real interference pattern. The original double slit experiment was conducted in 1801 by British polymath Thomas Young. Since then, it's been performed with various types of particles.
So you get the idea. That's pretty cool, right? So the whole topic of light and color and how the eye sees and how the brain interprets is all fascinating to me. And that was one of the reasons why I got into photography. You know, I still to this day am fascinated by light and color. And there's just so many cool things you can do with light and with photo magic or video magic, which actually brings up a point. Let's go to my page. So if you're not following me yet, you can go to youtube.com/@ Ace Digital Pro, and that'll take you to my Ace Digital Productions channel. So this video here created when I was in my master's program, and it's a video that talks about how what's old is becoming new again with TikTok.
Today's TikTok videos have a direct correlation back to the early days of film and silent movies. Let me explain. The first video I chose to explain this relationship is where the creator turns a tomato into a yummy filet mignon steak just by cooking it. This is done with camera tricks, just like in the old days where they used camera perspective to make it look like this actor was hanging in danger. In this next video, the creator shows how dangerous and evil their cat is.
Violent creature filled with hateful thoughts and a lust for blood.
It's definitely a comedy genre, and the narrator's comments and the title graphics gives a direct lineage back to the silent movie days. In particular, this 1922 Nosferatu or Dracula film. The next video I chose to show this correlation is this fashion video, where a girl shows off her favorite shoes. Does work as silent movies, although they each have their own music or narration. Their purpose is to entertain and get views. The audiences for these videos are people using TikTok. Clearly, you can see the relationship between today's TikTok videos and the early days of film.
What we were doing back in the 20s and 30s with film, like real film, is exactly what we're doing today with TikTok. What's old is new again. So as long as you study the history of film and video and the way things were created, you can use those principles today, because basically has given you the same tools and more that people had back then, by force. Back then, you know, film was expensive, cameras were expensive, so they had to create short stories with no audio because they didn't have the audio component back then. Now, obviously, with TikTok, we have, you know, the ability to add audio very easily. but there are certain elements that are still the same. So it could be a silent film, like the girl showing her shoes, and then she put text on the screen, which back in the old days, that's how they would communicate something to the audience watching, is they would put a title card on the screen, and they would put writing on the title card, and maybe they would put like some little phrase like a punchline, you know, for comedy or something like that. So we can use all those same principles. Like, nothing's changed since the beginning of the film days. We just have better technology now to do the similar type, you know, entertaining videos or storytelling videos. And that's what I'm all about, is storytelling. So I think now what I would like to do is just jump into a little demonstration of my software. So let's do that. So let me show you a couple videos that I just created here. So we'll play this one here.
It's so beautiful, I want to cry.
I love photography. I have a passion for it. I have a passion for light, like no one else I know. And I try to share that passion with other people through my photography and through teaching, through workshops. I just love what I do.
What a photographer is I read them once described as thieves of light. And that's what you are, aren't you? You're stealing light. And so light is a really important thing.
Oh, light is the most important thing.
Yeah.
You know, it gives our world shape and form. Everything is done around light.
So does that mean that you need banks of artificial lights, or is it about working with natural light?
I like natural light. Some photographers love the studio. I used to, but I like being outside more.
Oh, we got a great sunrise. Picture perfect. Our whole world is shaped by light. It's given form by light. All color is derived from the light. The world would be a dull place without light. I know it seems a bit obvious to say that, but, you know, it constructs the world around us. It makes the world that we live in comprehensible. This morning, we've had 5 minutes of golden light.
There are a few things that I love about Anthony's photography. I think first and foremost it's the light. I think he's extraordinarily good at capturing that beautiful light that you see that's very changeable. You know, it could be storm, or it could be that early morning, faint, ethereal kind of light. He's really, really good at capturing that, and I absolutely love that. It's so evocative, and you can really feel what it's like to be there and to see it.
Wow, look at this place. This is amazing.
So this footage was given to me by my professor in my master's program, and he basically followed around Anthony for 2 years, capturing him doing his thing, taking photos, interviewing him, interviewing his wife. That was his wife on the screen. Going to the printer with him, going to a gallery exhibit that he, you know, is his gallery exhibit. Just all the different things that he did as a photographer. Print proof of his book to see if it was correct color. So I have 200 clips of video about Anthony. And what a lot of people do nowadays is they take their phone and they just hold it like this, because that's how you were trained to do it by Instagram and TikTok. And they shoot, you know, footage like this, and then they post it. Some people edit it with the TikTok editor or another editor on their phone. And that's kind of what we do as a default, because maybe that's just what's easiest to do, right, on the phone. And that's okay. What I'm showing here is taking footage that was shot in a horizontal landscape fashion and then editing it as a storytelling video for YouTube. Like I just showed you, it's a landscape video. Now, the reason we do that is because professional photographers traditionally hold their camera like this, which is a horizontal landscape format. It wasn't until cell phones, smartphones came out that people started shooting like this. Now, once in a while, as a photographer, I would turn my camera like this if I'm doing a long photo, like a picture of a building or a picture of, you know, a seaside cliff, and I want to get the whole cliff in there with the water and all that. And I would typically use a wide angle lens so I can capture the whole scene, right? So it's more of a portrait. Or if I'm doing a portrait of someone, a person, and I want to get their whole body or 3/4 length, then I'm going to hold my camera like this to get that portrait view. So that's the majority of what you see on your phone is the portrait or vertical format, which is not bad, but it's not the only thing. But it's typically the only thing you see on your phone because your phone is formatted to be vertical. But that doesn't mean that's the only video you should shoot like that. So what I'm teaching people how to do is turn their camera like this and then capture footage that would be good for storytelling. Now, that doesn't mean you have to write scripts and act and do all that Hollywood or YouTubers do, like Mr. Beast. They come up with an idea and then they script it and then they go shoot all the different pieces and parts. That's not what documentary is about. Documentary style video for marketing your business, because that's what I'm really talking about. I'm not talking about creating documentaries. I'm talking about creating marketing material for your business. So like that video I just showed you of Anthony, like that would be a great video for his marketing where he's talking about how he loves light and capturing light. And then he's got a testimony from his wife about how Anthony's great at capturing light. Let me find another video that talks about his workshops.
People, they buy really good quality cameras and they shoot on auto and they're wondering why all their photos never look different than, you know, photo taken with a smartphone when you got this nice digital SLR. And I teach them why.
How much is it a technical skill of knowing what your camera does and being able to understand all the functions? And how much of it is an aesthetic one, an eye, a sensibility, an understanding?
I always tell people, know your camera. Before you go out shooting, know what all the buttons do. If you know your camera, it helps you express yourself.
People, they buy really good quality cameras and they...
So that's a clip, a short clip that I created with Opus. And it's of a horizontal video that I edited. So I just took the horizontal landscape video that I edited very nicely. And then I uploaded it to Opus. And Opus is a online tool that allows you to chop up like a podcast or any other video into clips. And it does all the editing for you. It's very simple to use. It's not the best quality in the world, but it's very easy to create clips. That started as a horizontal, but then I clipped it just to be able to post it as a short. And that's what you want to do is, why do you want to do that? Well, let me show you. Let's go over here to YouTube Studio and let's go to content. So here is my video section. And you can see this video, I Chase Light, got 6 views. This video here, City at Peace, got 2 views. This one here, Headshot Photography Session, got 0 views. This one here got 2 views. Very low view count. Now, I'm not a huge YouTuber. Like, I don't have a huge following. I have a couple hundred people, I think. So, you know, I don't get a lot of views. But over here on Shorts, 237 views on a video I just posted yesterday. 100 views on another video I posted yesterday. 24 views on a video I posted yesterday. 28 views, 169 views, 247 views. So you can see this one's got 622 views, 741 views. So as I go down, you'll see the numbers getting bigger because they've been up longer, right? And it depends on the content. So you definitely want to create shorts. You want to create shorts that are storytelling and they have some kind of hook or reason for people to watch. So let's look at another one. Let's look at, people tend to like this one for some reason. I don't really think it's that great, but let's watch it. So this is a photo session that I did. This footage was shot with a horizontal format. So what I did was I took my phone and I stuck it in a little tripod and I stuck it off to the side. And I think in the original footage, you can also see me because I was behind the scenes kind of shot. But when I clipped it with Opus, it created this, like it zoomed in on her. So the reason that it's probably got so many views is because it's got her in it. If it had me in it, it probably wouldn't get that many views. This is interesting for people. You never know what's going to hit with people. Let me show you another one. Let's see if I have it here. Now this one here is interesting. This is just me doing a Zoom presentation like I'm doing now. And then I stuck it into Opus and I clipped. You have to watch all the footage first. And when you've got 200 clips, hours and hours and hours of footage, that takes a long time. And typically, whoever's giving you the video editing job, they want to see results now, right? How fast can you get me a rough cut? Well, that takes time because you got to look at all the footage first. So with the advancement of AI, I decided that I wanted to create some software that would speed up that time factor, the organization, and the looking at all the footage time factor that's involved.
To learn more, visit docuflowsoftware.com.
You have to. So that is simply a presentation like I'm doing now. I stuck it into Opus and I clipped it, or it clipped it. I didn't do anything. It did everything. And it got 940 views. 2 likes. So that's pretty good. So like I was saying on my Facebook Live that I did right before the session, you just need to create video and post it. It doesn't matter if you think you're not ready, or if you don't think your light's good enough, or if you think you don't have anything to say, or whatever excuse you have about not doing video, then get over it. You just need to do video. And you need to post it because you never know, like this, what's going to be a hit. Stuff that I think is really good, like this one here, got 8 views, right? You just never know. So it could be the wording, the title, could be the thumbnail. I'm really bad about not doing thumbnails. Kind of post it and go. I don't really spend time trying to create this masterful thumbnail, but that would help. Right? I should go through and create some nice thumbnails, especially for the horizontal. That's probably why I've got low views on these, because I didn't create thumbnails. If you create attractive thumbnails, then you can get more views. So maybe I'll do that one day. But let's take a look at DocuFlow, what I was just talking about in that video. So docuflowsoftware.com. Someone else has got the domain docuflow.com, and they want a lot of money for it, but I'm not buying it. So I just bought docuflowsoftware.com. And this is my software package that allows you to basically manage your footage and catalog it, organize it, tag it, figure out what the footage is about, and then create story or potential stories from that footage automatically with AI. Can cut your work by 98%. Really cool. It basically works on a subscription basis. So it's $4.97 a month. If you use it for a month and you don't pay the next month, then it just deactivates. And when you need it again, you just activate it again for another month. So no long-term contracts, month to month. And basically the way it works, it asks you to create a project and then point to a folder of video. So then it will take that folder of video and it'll start classifying it and logging it and then finding the storylines within it and build rough cuts on your timeline. So all these are the typical hours that it would take to do all that. And you can basically get it done in an hour, the whole thing. It's not that difficult. So from raw footage to rough cut in one day. So it's pretty cool software. Now I use DaVinci Resolve as my main editor, and I use Windows. So that's what I wrote the software for. So if you want to use this, you need to have DaVinci Resolve, the professional version, the studio version, which is $295, lifetime purchase. And then you have to have Windows, and then you have to have DocuFlow, and then you can do what I do. So this is kind of what the screen looks like. So you have all the different steps. It kind of guides you through all the different steps. And then in the end, you come out with some rough cuts. So let me show you some of them. I'll go ahead and launch my DaVinci Resolve. I just love DaVinci Resolve. It's a great tool, and don't really have any problems with it like I've had with Adobe. I was simply trying to resize a photo, and I went and right-clicked on an image, and I was going to open it in Photoshop, but I saw this little resize option that Adobe put in my right-click menu. So I said, oh, that's kind of cool. So I clicked on resize, and then it brings up this little Adobe screen, and it asked me for the size, and I put the size in there. And then it basically crashed. I'm like, really? Like a simple little thing like resizing a photo you can't do without crashing? It's just stupid. So let me go down here. So this is another project that I got footage for in my master's program. And it's about something called The Big Issue. And The Big Issue is a magazine that they create in London. And it talks about like social issues, you know, what's going on in London and stuff like that. The homeless sell it. So the homeless go buy it from the company, The Big Issue. You know, it's a really professional magazine with articles and photos and stuff like that that the public values. And the homeless buy it for, I think, £2. And then they sell it for £4. So it's a legitimate way for them to make money and not have to beg, because begging is illegal in London. So I've got like 80 hours, 90 hours of footage from my professor, and he went out and followed around staff and homeless people, capturing footage and interviews over the course of a week. So that's your typical kind of documentary style project, right? You're going to go document something. So over here in my bins, you can see that I've got all these different bins here. So here we have an interview with a vendor.
I'm from a little town called Basildon.
So this is Billy. He's a homeless guy, and he just became a new vendor. You know, my professor did a interview with him. And then these are all the high points in this video. So this clip right here, he's talking about being licensed to work. So he's talking about being licensed. And that's what my software tagged this clip with, licensed to work. Over here, he's talking about sleeping rough, which means sleeping outside. So he's talking about sleeping on the street, and he sleeps by a warm vent that blows warm air out, right? So all this tagging was done by my software. I didn't have to do it. So now I can just look through here and be like, oh, here's where Billy talks about life transformation. And then I can go.
And I don't want to carry on continuing my life in a criminal way.
So I can just go find that clip very easily. I could do a search with my search tool and put in life, and then there it goes, right? It's going to give me 2 clips talking about life, right? So my software, DocuFlow, cataloged and tagged all these videos. And then down here we have B-roll. So if it's not a interview, then it's B-roll. It's just supporting footage. So let's say I was doing a video about the printing of the magazine packaging. So I can come in here, and this one doesn't have any tags on it because there's no interview. There's no way to tag it. I would have to go in and manually tag it and say, oh, this part right here is where it's packaged and coming down a conveyor belt. So I'd have to go in here and create a tag and say magazines on pallet after shrink wrap. So I'd have to tag that video with that information. So my software doesn't look at the video visually. It's tagging everything based on the transcript. So basically what I do is I transcribe all the video, and then I send those transcripts to AI, and then have AI go through and pull out the important moments, and then create tags that are then applied to my video. So I take that text information, send it to AI, then it comes back in the form of tag information, and then my software automatically tags all the proper clips with the proper tags. So it cuts down lots and lots of time of manually tagging your interview clips. Now the B-roll is tagged by the file name. So if the file name of the video is, you know, magazines on the rolling track on a pallet, you know, packaged, and it's going to tag it basically, or put it in a bin, a folder with that kind of naming convention. So maybe later in a future version, I may use computer vision AI to visually look at my video and determine what it is. So that's easily doable. I just don't have that feature yet. So I could easily go through and take a snapshot like every 5 minutes or whatever, or every 2 minutes, and I could label that footage with whatever AI sees in the photo, because AI can determine what's in a photo or what's in a video now, no problem. So basically I just need to create that part of the software to do that. And then all my B-roll will be tagged and cataloged. So that's a future feature that I will implement. So basically here's all your B-roll, and then here's some rough cuts. So all these are rough cuts that AI created for me. So let's go look at this one, the Monday ritual. Let's see, why is it not playing? There we go.
Deliver from Bicester, where the magazine's printed. Mondays are the most important days for us because, you know, we need to get the magazine out there as soon as possible. So therefore, we're all here waiting at the...
So this is a rough cut. It's not finished by any means. So, you know, AI decided that, hey, I'm going to give you a clip of this
whether we have a good week or not,
delivery guy. And then we've got Peter talking about the delivery truck coming. Over in London, they call it the lorry. So then it picked a clip of the machines in the printing facility. So basically it just gave me, and here's the clip down here. It's changed to 1. So this is the timeline right here. So these are all the different clips that it gave me. Now, it just put them all on one line. But maybe this one I want to use as B-roll. So what I'll do is I'll I'll take this interview and then maybe I'll use some B-roll here.
Fingers crossed. As I say, the whole week, vendors will be turning up to help unload in a minute. Hopefully, fingers crossed. As I say, the whole week, whether we have a good week or not, hinges on having a good Monday, meaning the lorry turns up.
So this is where he talks about the lorry turning up. So what I could do is I could take just this chunk of B-roll.
Having a good Monday, meaning the lorry turns up on time. We get the vendor week.
So, see, basically it put a tag right there where he talks about the lorry showing up.
Or not hinges on having a good Monday, meaning the lorry turns up on time. We get the vendor week. Whether we have a good week or not.
So that's great. I can use that B-roll clip. So what I can do is I can shorten that, and then I can grab this part where we show the back end of the truck and this guy unloading. So we can show the same driver guy with the dolly coming in.
Having a good Monday, meaning the lorry turns up on time. We get the vendor week. Whether we have a good week or not hinges on having a good Monday, meaning the lorry turns up on time. We get the vendors in to unload it. We get the vendors out there selling the magazine.
See? So that's how I would use this rough cut that my system created and start assembling final edit. Again, this is B-roll here of the printing process. So maybe after he gets done talking about the truck showing up.
We get the vendors in to unload it. We get the vendors out there selling the magazine.
After he says the magazine, I could shoot to a clip of the magazine hurtling through the racks. And then if I wanted the sound for that, then I could turn on the sound for that. So let's just turn on the sound here. And then there's some background talking, which I could cut out.
Load it. We get the vendors out there selling the magazine.
And then I can overlap this just a little bit more. See why it won't let me. Wouldn't let me stretch that for some reason. Because it's the beginning of the clip. So as soon as he says magazine, I want that clip to come in.
Vendors out there selling the magazine.
Yeah, so right there. So that's basically how I would use this series of interviews and B-roll clips. So let's see what this B-roll clip is. So this is a vendor walking away. So I could take this and move that up here. So that's pretty nice. I can use this clip just as like a little transition piece.
Selling the magazine.
So it's kind of nice because it shows the magazines moving in a vertical, and then it shows this guy walking in that same path. It's a vertical path. And then, you know, I can use other parts of this later. So just here in a couple minutes, okay? So maybe I have some unloading active kind of clips here. That's that same clip. I kind of like this one better. Now, what I could do is I could go back over here to my B-roll and I could look for like vendors getting magazines. So see, this is typically how you have to look for stuff is you go through. So I could grab this clip here and I could bring it down. Actually, I don't need that much. So I could grab this little clip here.
We get the vendors in to unload it. We get the vendors out there selling the magazine.
Well, that's not unloading. That's more getting the magazines. But then I could go find some unloading. Let's see, magazine distribution, magazine delivery. I got a ton of footage here for that. Yeah, so here's vendors helping with the magazines. So I can use this. Oh, what do I do? Didn't want to do that.
It turns up on time. We get the vendors in to unload it. We get the vendors out there selling the magazine.
So yeah, I can just go through here and pick out some clips of the vendors helping out. So this is a good one here. So maybe I find 3 different clips of the vendors helping out. This is a good one here where they're loading up the van.
Or he turns up on time. We get the vendors in to unload it. We get the vendors out there selling the magazine.
Yeah, that's good. I would do some more work with those B-rolls, but that's a good set of B-roll clips that I can use to cover up the interview part. And then if I want to show him talking, then I can just choose to move, you know, some of these clips over a little bit.
They're selling the magazine.
So I can show him talking.
We get the vendors out there selling the magazine.
And then I can jump back into the B-roll. All right. So that's a little kind of tutorial on how you would use my software to create documentary style videos. So it's pretty simple. Let me turn my camera back on so you can see that it's pretty simple. Greatly cuts down the amount of time you have to spend watching footage. Like normally, if I got this as a job, as an editor, then I would have to go through that 80 or 90 hours of footage and watch it all and then make notes about it and then organize it all myself so I could be creative in the edit. The faster you can get to the part that I was just showing you, the faster and more creative you can be with your edits, and you can come up with more options. You know, this is just one little story that was created out of this footage. And as you can see over here, well, I'm not sharing my screen now, but as you saw in my timeline bin, I have tons of possible rough cuts that I created with my software. So it's definitely worth using it. It'll cut down your time spent organizing and cataloging greatly. So go to docuflowsoftware.com and check it out. What do you got to lose? Like if you've got a big project with lots of footage, then get yourself a month license and try it out and see what you think. I'm always adding new features to it because I'm using the software myself. And as I find maybe where it doesn't, you know, do something that I wanted it to do, or I think of a new feature like I was just talking about earlier, then I start adding that feature in. And then when it's ready, I release the new version. So you're going to get free updates for life as long as, you know, you keep on using it, then you're going to get free updates. So check it out. Feel free to get in touch with me if you have any questions, and I'd be happy to answer those for you. All right. Have a great day. Thanks for watching, and join me on the next Marketing Mastery Saturday live Zoom, which I'm doing right now. Nobody's here, but regardless of if anyone shows up or not, I always do a Zoom and I always record it. And that way, at least if you're on the list, you can get the recording. So go to zoomwithwaynewallace.com and register, and then I'll send you the replay. All right. Have a great day.